Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Are you feeling overwhelmed? You are trying to wear 12 hats and there's only one of you, and it's taking you forever to do some tasks that maybe you could outsource or delegate. I know that D word is not always a fun thing to do or say, but today is your day because I am Charisse Walker, your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. And today we have Anna Brambilla here, and she is going to talk about how to make your life a little less stressful. So without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I created and founded a company called Time Maximizers, and it's designed to help those overstressed clients who are coaches, the consultants, who want to fall in love with their job again and want to fall in love with their business and have realized admin tasks have completely taken over and that's all they're doing, or they're doing it too much. And so I have personal experience with virtual assistants that I'm sure we're going to go into and just know the game changer that they can be. So that's briefly me.
I love that. And I had a mentor once that said, okay, the first thing you need to do is hire an assistant. And I'm like, what? I can't afford an assistant. And she goes, you can't afford not to. And
I
so
love that.
if you were to take how much you made last year, and I'm going to pitch for you right here, right? If you were going to take how much you made last year, divided by 2,080, because that, well, as an entrepreneur, actually like 3,500, we'll just give you that because you're working a lot more hours than you would be if you just had a regular W-2 job. You are. So how much money is that? And so for every administrative task, I actually did this last week I was curious, right? Now that taxes are done and stuff. And I realized my hourly rate and wage is much higher than I was thinking it was, right? And so if I'm doing all these administrative tasks, then that is preventing me from being able to make more money. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you got into helping people with hire VAs and things. And let's talk about your origin story. And then we're going to go into why it's so important to have an assistant. And in my opinion, why not hire VAs, which are usually much less money, right?
Yes, I agree.
Go ahead.
So my origin story, I have been an entrepreneur and franchise business owner for the past 7.5 years. My franchise was helping people explore buying and investing in a franchise, and it was great, but there was so much administrative stuff. I got into it because all I wanted to do was talk on the phone with clients. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the emails and the admin and the tracking and the paperwork. And so about 1.5 years into my tenure as a franchise business owner, I hired my own virtual assistant. And everything changed. Everything changed from there. And I would say within a year, I quadrupled my income just because all I had to do was talk on the phone with clients and do what I loved in establishing relationships. So I said, you know what, there's a business here. I had trained the virtual assistants in all aspects of my franchise. And so I created a little business that offered fully trained, fully managed virtual assistants to other Entrepreneur Source coaches. That's the name of the franchise that I owned, the Entrepreneur Source. And it quickly grew. I soon started supporting more than, I think, like 65 franchise business owners, have a team of 15 virtual assistants. And the feedback I got universally was how much they maximized their time and how much more they loved their work because they were doing that. So this past summer, I started thinking, okay, what's next for me? And came up with the idea of why not spread the love of virtual assistants to people across the world, but especially in North America and to a certain extent to Europe. And because I have an incredible recruiting team in the Philippines, and I know how hard they work and the quality of the work that they do, I created a business called Time Maximizers. And what makes us different is that we do all the recruiting, the screening, the managing to get you to the client So all the coach, the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the consultant has to do is show up and interview the top 3 candidates. So we do all that legwork. A lot of coaches and people know they want to hire a VA, but don't know where to start. And so they go to places like Fiverr or onlinejobs.ph or whatever it is, right? There's a million of them. And they say, okay, I need a virtual assistant. They're inundated with 1,000
Yeah.
different people. They don't know what to look for. They don't know where to go. So what we do is we do all that legwork. We've conservatively said we save somebody who's looking for a VA 30 to 40 hours. And we take all the stress. The client shows up, tells us what they're looking for. They interview the VA. They hire them directly and they're off to the races. So there's no agency markup. We charge a flat fee depending on the skill level of the VA they're looking for. We offer a 90-day guarantee. And more importantly, we take all of the potential VAs through a 20-step vetting process.
Wow.
So we're checking for reliability, engagement, professionalism, quality of their work, motivation. They have to make them go through about 5 or 7 steps before we even talk to them, just to make sure that they have the drive to be a successful VA. So it's wonderful. I'm all about creating win-win-win solutions. And what I love about this is that coaches and consultants fall in love with their work again. They fall in love with their business again. The VAs love the work, phenomenal job. And I make some money making that match. And it's just, I could go on for hours, but you get the idea.
Well, so let me ask, because it's so funny. This is great timing, because 2 weeks ago, I actually did go to one of the websites you mentioned, because that's how my mentor taught me. You go there, and I posted 3 different jobs, and boom, I had like 100 in my inbox like that. And then they said, we paused your account because you have too many applicants. And I haven't been back because I'm busy.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't have time to look through all of those. Dang it. And I really did like my one that I had for a couple years. But my question for you is, so do you retain them? And so would I pay you every month, or is it you're just the connector? Like,
I'm just the connector. I'm the
oh, I
matchmaker.
love that.
That's
Okay.
one of the beauties of this business model,
Yeah.
is that you hire them directly. And we'll give you lots of
Yeah.
tips and tricks. We'll be with you for the first 90 days just to make sure everything's going well. But there's no agency markups. You hire them directly, and the fees are typically, depends on the VA, but anywhere between $5 and $10 an hour. Obviously, the more you pay, the higher level
Right.
skills, the higher level not work ethic, but work level of work that you get. Compare that. I was paying $45 an hour for a US based VA. Wonderful woman, very sweet woman. It wasn't, I couldn't justify that to
Yeah.
myself versus a virtual assistant who cost 1/10 of that and was doing, frankly, better work than my US based. And nothing against US based VAs
Right.
at all. They're incredible, and they serve a wonderful purpose. But for my purposes, I needed someone who was considerably cheaper. So yeah, you hire them directly.
That's great. Well, and let's talk about that too, because some of them, I was online the other day, and it's like $2. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And granted, they're probably not the greatest, but $4 to $12, where my kids, I can't even pay them that little. I'm like, you are more expensive for me than if I were to hire this person. And granted, they're my kids, so if they want to do work, I'll give them work, but if they want to. I think
Yes, join the club.
yeah, but it's so much more effective. So how do you get past like time zones? Because do you have anyone in South America, or do you strictly stick to the Philippines?
At this point, we stick strictly to the Philippines. We are considering expanding, but that's going to be next year sometime. Mostly because I have the team who knows the Philippines. One of the steps that we take our VAs through that I never would have thought to think about is, what islands do they live in, or what part of the country do
Oh,
they live in, and do they have frequent power
I was
outages?
just going to say that because I had one where she multiple times, it was very often they'd have power outages.
Yeah. Yeah, I never would have thought to think about that. So that's one of the things. So we know the Philippines really well. That's one of the things that you can ask for as you're giving us your list of requirements. If you need somebody who's going to work US hours, we absolutely can find that person. Obviously, it costs a little bit more, but we absolutely have those people that we can find. Yeah, we see $2 an hour for a VA. My feeling is pay a little bit more. Just to give you an idea of the team of 15 virtual assistants I have in the Philippines for my business supporting other entrepreneur source coaches, of that, I have not a single person who has left voluntarily, not a single person. I've had to let go of two people. They were working for me, personally didn't do a good job.
Mhm.
And that's because I treat them just a little bit better. You just give them a little bit extra. That amount goes so far for them. $1 an hour for us, not really a huge deal breaker for most
Wow.
people.
What do you recommend for people like me that they are in so many different things to be able to give them stuff and utilize them? How do you work with that person that just feels like they're frazzled and they need the help, but they're not taking the time to make sure that they're giving things to the person?
That's a huge question. And we've got some great partners so what I hear more often is, I do everything, but I don't know what I do, and it just gets done, and I'm frazzled, and I don't have any
Yeah.
systems or
Mhm.
processes in place. I've got some great business partners who we can outsource that to, and
Mhm.
they will spend the time to really go through your processes and help you understand that, so that when you come back to us and say, okay, now I know what I
Yeah.
need, we can help you with that. So we definitely do that. And we can also, if that's one of your requirements, you just want somebody who's available on a part-time basis or a project basis or an
Mhm.
as-needed basis, we can absolutely find you somebody like that too. That person, that VA might work for other clients, but that would be expected. So we can help you with that as well.
Amazing. And I love that you have partners that can go and help people because systems and processes is the way to go. I mean, you could only handle like as a realtor 5 or 6 listings versus 50 listings because of systems and processes. And so that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're first starting out, they don't take the time to do. And then they're like swimming trying to keep up because they don't
Exactly.
have anything recorded. They don't have any like step-by-step and procedures. So if they hire someone, they don't have anything to give them to say, hey, this is what I want you to do. People that help you are us.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge hurdle that a lot of my clients who are looking for a VA have to overcome, because it just gets done. They know what's next. And so taking that time to really get over that hump is difficult. And so that's why we're actively partnering with a couple of people to really help you set up those systems. If they are a bigger company and are looking for what's called a fractional COO, I just hired my first, and it's a game changer. Just everything is wonderful. So we have resources for that. So we won't be able to help you come in for us, time
Right.
maximizers, but we have people that will help you get to that point. So, okay, now I know what I need. Let's go find that.
Amazing. I love that you do that because I think that's one of the biggest needs with entrepreneurs is they need somebody to say, okay, and there's mentors out there that will be happy to charge you $20,000 to mentor you into that program. But it really is. It can either start off on a really strong, solid foundation or you're going to flounder for several years. And it's
Yep.
like, dang, why didn't I just do that? It is
Yep.
worth it.
Yes, I agree
Worth it.
completely. Sometimes, frankly, people need to go through that painful process in the beginning, right? They need to go through that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I can do everything. Because then it's like you appreciate the warmth when you've been cold type of thing, right? But yeah, it's really, we have those systems and those people on our partners who really can help you with that.
So what are the common mistakes that people make when they're hiring? Because if you're, I mean, are you taking all that out? Do you teach people how to interview the VAs? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake is people just hire somebody. They get overwhelmed. They get these hundreds of applications. They go through, they don't know what they're looking for. They choose a handful of people at random. For whatever reason, the resume stands out, the work stands out, but they don't know. It could just be superficial. They hire the people. Well, this person seems okay. And
Mhm.
then they just leave them alone. And so we would absolutely help you interview them. But my team is also on the call with the interview just to get a sense. What do you like about that person? What don't you like about that person? So that if we need to go back and refine the search, we absolutely can. And we also help you with that delegation and that working together. We have some great resources. How do you hire somebody? How do you work with them? There is a cultural difference, and that's something to be aware of. It's both wonderful and it's also can be a challenge. So we help you through that because I have been through that. I'm based in California, and my team in the Philippines has been based, knows that very well too. And they're great at massaging that and helping that out. So we try and be full service. We're not the cheapest place around, but I think we do a pretty good job of earning and what we save the coach or the solopreneur or the real estate agent, what we save them in time, hassle, hair loss. I don't know about you.
No.
Don't know. Yeah, I don't have anything about that. That's what we do.
So I was actually, because I'm interviewing for a job, right? So I won't even go into the situation, but this is the first time I've actually been interviewed. Six agents are being interviewed. And today I think I'm one of the last it's a sad situation, but long story short, here it is. And so I have been told that some of these other agents are cutting their fees significantly, their commissions. And so, I can compare and I can see what's going on, or I can't. And it's very interesting because I was writing something and I thought, why do people pay for name brand versus generic? And
Mhm.
sometimes there's not a difference, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
sometimes there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so why are people willing to do that? Why are people willing to pay name brand for clothing versus not? And so I think that that's where so many times people think, well, how much are you going to charge? And it's like, what is most important to you? Is it really the money? Because let me show you how I have been able to cover my commission because I get you more for your home because I know what the heck I'm doing versus
Yep.
somebody else that is so hungry and that they don't have any listings or they don't have anything. And so they'll cut their commission just because they want a paycheck. And
Yeah.
it's like, so they don't know. Like, I can't tell you how many times that I have negotiated with my buyers significantly off the purchase price because the agent never even walked the house. They
Oh
went and
God.
had somebody put a sign in the yard and a key box on their door. And I'm like, have you been in here? No. It's in
Yeah.
much worse shape than I think that you are aware. And we're going to have to talk about the repairs that need to be made. And so, very, very interesting that people sometimes when they say, oh, how much do you charge? Instead of always talking about how much you charge, it's what do you do? What do you offer? What is your guarantee? Like you have a 90-day guarantee. That's where some people are like, one and done, thank you, and they're gone. And so I think that knowing your worth as a business owner and being willing to stand up for that, I think people respect. And quite frankly, if they're going to nickel and dime you, I can tell you, they were going to be your worst nightmare.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. If a client comes to me and says, I want to hire that $2 VA, great. Best of luck to you. I'm not the right person because I want to make sure my VAs are taken care of because that's part of the win-win-win
Right.
solution that I create. But also, I can guarantee you that $2 an hour person is going to go off in 6 months and find a $2.50 an hour job or a $3 an hour job versus I pay my VAs a lot more, even over asking sometimes, over market. I always give them a little extra bonus when I pay them, give them bonus for their birthday, give them Christmas bonuses, things like that. And they stay with me because they know that I value them. And I have saved so much money in turnover and
Mhm.
in so much money in having to train somebody else and being that downtime. So please, if you're going to do that, don't go for the cheapest. Like you said, you bring so much experience and you bring so much knowledge of the market. You're going to more than make up that commission.
Yeah.
And if they're so nickel and dime you, yeah, good luck to you. I'm not the right person for you. And we, as moms and entrepreneurs, need to know that and need
Mhm.
to know our worth.
Yeah. And if you're not willing to stand up for yourself, then you got some other work that you need to do. You need to be
Excellent
taking some
point.
mentorship and some help because, I mean, you do have value. You are worth something. And so do not shortchange yourself because here's a tagline I use a lot, right? If I can't even negotiate my own salary, then how can I negotiate for you? So
I
if
love
you're
it.
in a sales, and then you're going to pause and let that sink in.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I actually had a client afterwards that I said that, and he goes, I know we really want to use you, but here's our situation. Because of that, I'm like, okay, I'll work with you. But after that, he came back. He's like, Charisse, I will never ask you to discount. You're 100% worth it. And I'm like, thank you. So
Good.
help me, like, refer me to some other people now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm glad you had a good time. And yes,
Yeah.
I am worth it. And now tell everybody, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so what are some of the tasks that VAs can take off your plate so that we can talk about this with our audience?
So we offer 3 levels of virtual assistant skill set, and that justifies the different price ranges for placement. A lot of general VA. My VA does a lot with. She manages my inbox. Oh, that's it's a beast into itself, and it's been heavenly that she does that for
Sure.
me. She will manage my appointments, manage my schedule. One of the things that's so helpful for me is the night before she gives me an entire list of all of my appointments the next day.
Mhm.
And what are we talking about? And are we meeting on Zoom, or am I calling them or meeting them in person, whatever it is. So she manages that for me. She manages a lot of the communication and the paperwork that my clients with the entrepreneur source need and needed. So she would manage that. She would handle rescheduling. She would handle following up with clients, because clients, the time's not right, and then they forget about you. Or in your case, they might say, oh yeah, what was that woman's name? Oh, I don't remember. I'm sure she was a great realtor, but I'm going to go with my best friend's cousin's wife, husband, who just got his license and needs a job,
Mhm.
whatever it is. So they can manage, and that's specific to me, but there's all kinds of level, general admin stuff. And obviously we will work with you to identify that. We also have a more highly skilled franchise of VAs. So for people who need social media, photo editing, video editing, who need a higher level of autonomy, higher level of skill set, that obviously they charge more, but they're worth it. And it takes a little extra time for my team to find those people. And then finally, we have the executive admin, that right-hand person who's going to take everything off of your plate. I call her the other day she introduced herself as my better half. And I was like, yes, my husband might disagree with you, but personally, my husband's my better half. And in work, she's my better half. And it's just so heavenly just to do a brain dump with her and say, take care of it. In the middle tier, I forgot to mention graphic design. We have some phenomenal graphic design people. So it really depends on everybody. Don't have currently anybody who does outbound phone calls. We absolutely can. If a client says, hey, I need somebody to do outbound phone calls, we can absolutely do that. There's a lot of people over in the Philippines who can do that for you. But almost any administrative, repetitive task that you can think of. And then up until, like I said, right-hand person. With Hannah, who's my right-hand person, I just sort of say, this is what I'm thinking. She's used to me being all over the place. I've got ADHD, undiagnosed, but I know I have it. And so she's used to
You're an
me just
entrepreneur, of course you
I'm
have.
an entrepreneur, of course, exactly. And so, she's used to me being all over the place, and she just gets it done. And it's heavenly. It's absolutely heavenly.
I love that. Okay, I didn't realize we've been talking as long as we have. It's gone by fast. So I want to switch gears really quickly and ask you, as a mom, it's sometimes hard to juggle. And I know you have a teenager. And so with entrepreneurship, making sure that you have time and you're focusing, you're giving attention to your kids. How do you juggle it? So what is your advice? Like if you could give any advice to a brand new mom, and it doesn't have to be just the mom infancy, but like, here's my advice to you as an experienced mother. What is that piece of advice you would give?
That's a great question. There's a lot of pieces of advice I would give. I would find ways to compartmentalize. I have an office. I could work from home, and a lot of people do. I found it was too difficult. So I have an office. This is my office. I come here and I work and I compartmentalize. Now, my son is 16, so he's got his own car and takes himself to and from school and goes to lacrosse. So it's a little bit easier. But even when I was an entrepreneur before that, these are the hours that I work, and I'm focused exclusively on working. Then I can be a mom and I can be there for him, pick him up from school, go on field trips when he was younger, obviously. I would recommend don't be guilty. because a lot of us, oh, I'm spending time away from my family. You're not. One of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur is that my son sees that I have a life outside of him. He's insanely, incredibly important to me, as is my husband, but I need to have a life.
Yeah.
So we're starting to look at colleges, and so he's going to be going to school soon. And so I have a life after he leaves. He also sees me as an independent woman, making money, creating something, having pride in my work. And so I think that's very important for our kids too, to understand and see us. And just know that you are creating a legacy. Not only do they see you work and what you're creating, but you're creating a business that you can then eventually pass on to your kids or sell and help them buy their first house or whatever it is. So take pride in what you do and know that you're adding value to the country and to the world, but also to your kids.
Such good advice, especially because the number one age group getting divorced right now, because I talked about in my book, is 65 and older, right? And not there yet. You have a ways
Yep.
to go.
5 years. No, 10 years. 10 years. Yeah.
Okay, still. But if you don't know how to have that life and be independent of your children and to know how to get along with your husband, and like you are going to get a divorce. And so it is important to make sure that you are living while you're raising your kids and they know that you're going to be okay without them.
Yeah.
Kids stick around because they're afraid of that. So
they do. And that's not fair to them, right? You know, we as parents, our job is to create kids that can go off into the world and be independent, self-sufficient adults. And if they feel like they have to take care of us, yikes, that doesn't work, right? You know, they need to be off there and do their own thing. And the other thing that I like about entrepreneurship, there's no ageism. You know, ageism is alive and well. When you own your own company, there ain't no ageism, which is nice.
And it's so flexible if you allow it to be and if you manage correctly by getting a VA, right?
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Right. Exactly.
All right. So if our listeners wanted to find you, how would they do that?
It's very simple. The name of the company is Time Maximizers, but the website is maxyourtime.com. My email is very simple. Anna, my first name, at maxyourtime.com. Go to the website, fill out a contact us form, send me an email. Love to chat with you. Let's get on the phone and I can talk about how you can maximize your time using a virtual assistant.
Anna, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Charisse. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. And my Unbreakable Mompreneurs, if you are struggling because you are doing so much, a good example, my husband came and sat down on the couch next to me last night. It was 10 o'clock at night and my computer was in my face. I'm madly working. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to bed now. It was great talking to you.
It's the conversation that I've had. Yeah.
And so give back your time. And it's hard sometimes to give that away. And because it's like, oh, I can do this, I can do this. But you're missing time with your family. You're missing time with yourself, your loved ones. And it doesn't always have to be about work. So give Anna a call or look into VAs and go out and make it a great day.
Sounds great.
Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.